Good afternoon, Pat. Are
How
you
are
well?
you doing, Jude?
We had some technical difficulties, as you know. Will we let our viewers
Absolutely.
into the sad tale, or will we just get on with it?
It's like me and Rosie some Saturday nights. Picture and no sound.
She do all the talking. Okay, we're going to talk about three things, and we're going to go only
Yes.
5 minutes to each because we wasted.
Yes.
How much time we waste? Half an hour? At least half an hour. More.
Jude, talking to you is never wasted, Jude.
That's very kind of you, Pat. And the same to you, sir. Same to you. Okay, you get your money later.
Yeah.
Remote working. You raised this as a definite probability, since so many people are working from home, that this will be continued after lockdown's over, and it'll be a good move. Tell us what your thoughts are and why it would be good.
Jude, something's going to affect both parts of this island. Hughes Brothers, a big insurance company in Belfast, I was reading there quite recently, said that when this remote working's all over, the pandemic's all over, remote working will not be over, that they are going to continue on, that people working from home. Now, Heather Humphreys, who's the Minister for Enterprise in the South, she has announced earlier today, or is about to announce today, that they're going to 400 hubs where people like me and you, if we want to sort of contact somebody, we can go in and rent a desk and use a computer and sort of get in touch with people, that we don't have to go other places. We can work from home, etc. Now, Jude, here's the other thing, and I'm going to cut all this short. The 1/3 of the population of the Republic of Ireland lives in and around Dublin. And the unbalance, and that is unbelievable. Like, there are parts of Donegal and so on, and Mayo, where it's sort of like the Highland clearances, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That there are very, very few people living there, and the people should have the choice. There's a bloated public service in Ireland, and a lot of people, as I mentioned on our broadcast, that didn't broadcast, that every Sunday evening prior to the pandemic, if you went up to Letterkenny, you would see easily 20 to 30 buses parked outside what they call the port railway station, where these buses would be taking kids off to Dublin, Galway, and various other points. And so that whole idea, Jude, that people are not leaving Donegal and Mayo and Roscommon and to go other places looking for jobs simply doesn't hold true. So when this is all over, Jude, it could be a massive change in work practices in Ireland.
Well, it would be very desirable, Pat.
Earlier on, we only stuck to the south, but the north is going to be
very desirable. And I'd be the first to say that. And most people waste, probably in Dublin anyway, they'll be wasting a couple of hours every day going to and back from work.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you're at home, I think eventually you'd begin to get yourself down, because your domestic settings all day. Whereas when you go to work, you're in a different environment, you come back, at least there's a bit of variety in the day, and you're free from domestic, infringements. Like if your child gets sick or, crying or anything, you've got to leave and go to them. So the danger that one would impinge on the other.
Well, Jude, I think that work could be like your car, a hybrid. You could work both at home and I'm sure there's going to be a mix and match of all this. Jude, let's get this clear. I was chatting to a guy yesterday, a relative who lives in Munich. He's paying something like 500 euros a month for a house, an apartment in Munich. If you check it out, the average rental in Dublin for an apartment is somewhere in the region of 2,000 euros a month. That is because the economy in the south is so overheated in and around Dublin. There's last 2 or 3 Mondays, Stripe announced 1,000 jobs one Monday, and I can't remember, Homework or something. I can't remember the exact name of the company. Announced 400 jobs last Monday. So and everything's coming in Dublin, and it's so overheated, the market there, property market, that people are they're like, what sort of money would you need to be earning that you can afford to pay 2,000 a month?
Well, it's a very powerful argument in terms of saving time for the long commute, saving money because you can get a house for much less there, and a sense of community which you'd have there that you don't tend to have in Dublin. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people who have got children in school, have grandparents or parents living around the corner from them, or at least living in Dublin. To ask people to get up, pull up stakes and go permanently, that's a big ask, And I think the government in the south found that. They tried to move departments out, and quite a few people resisted it. So I would say, yes, great. If you can get all the public bodies, like the departments in the government, and put them to different parts of Ireland, great. If you can get through Zoom technology or whatever, people who are presently living in Dublin, paying an arm and a leg, out to other parts and living much more cheaply, great. But I don't think you're dealing with the psychological desire people have to stay where they are. You have to have compelling reasons to move. Moving houses like in a divorce
with respect, I don't think
stressful.
you know, no, hold on, Jude. You're comparing decentralization with optional. Surely this would be worker led. If I want to work from home, I can work from home. If I want to stay in the office is going to be there. Now, it might be a slimmed down office and maybe even a smaller office. But the minister has described the term as worker led because, Jude, by the way, you were talking about, yeah, there was opposition back in the day for widespread decentralization. A lot of guys like yourselves, people who are university lecturers and senior civil servants, maybe they had kids at university or the health facilities were all around them or whatever. The last thing they wanted was to move to rural Donegal or rural Mayo. But there were plenty of other people who were more than willing to, So here it's a much different situation. This is not decentralization. This is optional, that you can work from home. And if it suits you and it suits the company, that there's more than likely that's going to happen. Sure. And as the minister says, there are going to be 400 hubs throughout Ireland. They're going to get vacant buildings and so on and rejig them so people can walk in and use them for business and maybe rent them for a week or 2 weeks or maybe on a yearly basis.
Okay, we've used up our 5 minutes on that. Final question, final point. Answer me this and take it 10 seconds or less. Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think there's going to be a major rebalancing?
Absolutely, Jude, it's going to happen because it's already happening. So I'd like to quick answer. Radio, RT Radio, about a year ago, just when all this happened, gave a great instance of a girl from outside, I think our drag Killybegs area, who had been in Dublin, who gave her story that she used to have to get up at 6:30 in the morning to get to work in Dublin. Dark, the stress of getting in there, didn't get home to 7:30 in the evening, whatever, because of all the traffic and all the things. She said she's living in Donegal. She can start work at 9 in the morning. She's much more productive. She's got a 5-bedroom house. There's a beach down the road. She's the quality of life doesn't even begin to compare. And she says, there's no way I'm going back to Dublin.
Well, I hope you're right. But I have a funny feeling that A, people who have been brought up in Dublin like to stay there, and B, that working from home all the time. A lot of people drive them nuts. My son, one of my sons in London said he'd go nuts if he had to work from home all the time.
Yeah, I think that's true too. Yeah.
Okay. Now, well, I'm going to have to push on to the next topic.
Yes.
We really. Okay. The second topic is the bottomless. I was going to say the bottomless pit, but the bottomless cornucopia of Micheál Martin. Una Mullally did an article on him in the Irish Times over the weekend, and she cut the living tripe out of him. She said that his contribution to that famous Claire Byrne show, where they talked about reunifying Ireland, he spent all his time talking about the past, about when he went up from Cork to Belfast, and how he learned so much about unionism. He talked about the shared future and how they were. So she said he had nothing other than bland statements about the future, and what you need are people who can deal with the future, and he's a waste of space as far as talking about the unifying of Ireland is concerned. Would you agree?
Yep, totally. Absolutely. In fact, I thought she was being quite kind to him. Jude, he had about 10 minutes on his own, unopposed, and he's our Taoiseach. You'd think at this stage he would have a vision that to lay it out. He mentioned the, the Ulster Canal thing project, and it'll be finished in a day now. Jesus, when have we heard that before? He mentioned the tie-up between Letterkenny and Derry, McGee College and LYIT. That's been mentioned more times than enough. Jude, there was no big blueprint of exciting things ahead. It was the old rehashed, reheated things that he mentioned. John Hume, he mentioned Seamus Maloney, he mentioned David Irvine. He mentioned, Jude, it was beyond bland. In fact, I could fall asleep watching them. And I have very little doubt. Jude, I regard him very much now as yesterday's man. I really genuinely do. I think someone
he's going to be replaced
Micheál,
before the next election?
Yeah, no, I don't think he'll be replaced before the next election. But he has a 2-year term as Taoiseach on this supply and confidence and supply arrangement or whatever.
After that,
yeah. And I think I'll put money on it here now, Dr. Collins, that it's Jim O'Callaghan.
You think? You figure in 2 years' time, Fianna Fáil will change their leader?
Yeah, Jude,
Yeah.
like I don't know what it is.
What do you think of
No wonder. Like he has taken Fianna Fáil, the Republican Party, and made it more sort of blue shirt than Fine Gael.
Well, are you impressed by Jim O'Callaghan? Because he was on Talkback
Yeah, I
today.
am actually.
Well,
Yeah,
what impresses
yeah.
you about him?
He's articulate. He's got a vision. He's got something to say. And I think Mary Lou McDonald has a almost, she's got a sort of by ball every time Micheál Martin opens his mouth. I don't think she'll have a by ball when it's Jim O'Callaghan. O'Callaghan is very articulate. He's logical. He's a senior counsel down south. He's a very successful one. I know he's a bright guy, and as well as I think he's got a vision, which is some Micheál Martin. He came out with all. I don't even know if you call them shibboleths or whatever you'd like to call them. The last day, the same old tried and trusted and dried statements. Jude, I actually said it last Friday, and I thought I could have fallen asleep listening to him. And here was the first big event type current affairs program where he could have absolutely engaged and got the whole thing up and running and get everybody awake and action. Instead of that, it was almost paralysis. He wants everything to stay the same. He had nothing new to offer.
Do you think there are enough people in Fianna Fáil who think the same thing about him? Because if there are, you're going to have a split. You're going to have a split party. So my basic question is: will Sinn Féin be glad if Micheál's dumped after he's finished his 2-year term as Taoiseach, or will they be unnerved with the prospect of Jim O'Callaghan coming in and maybe leading to a resurgence of Fianna Fáil?
Jude, if I was Mary Lou McDonald, I would pray that Micheál Martin stays as leader.
Maybe she's praying already. Maybe that's
well do. Like when it comes to the north, I think he's got it totally wrong. Little wonder Sinn Féin is growing in the south.
And why does he do that? Is it because he's afraid of unionists? Is he afraid of violence from loyalists? Do you not think that's a real possibility?
Yeah, hold on, Jude.
Pat, I heard civil war used. Somebody talked about civil war.
Jude, something. This is true. I've heard it as well, and someone. But I also heard from a Republican, if there's a civil war, they're going to die too. So if we both go down that road, it's sort of self-defeating. It's nihilistic. But hey, it's quite legitimate to discuss, the future of this country about a united Ireland. Post-Brexit, things have changed. The unionists shouldn't be allowed just to threaten and then say, "Oh, let us all shut up," and all the sort of politicians in the south, "Oh, geez, we don't want any trouble." So, what about the decent, ordinary, working class, decent people in the north who are nationalists who would like to live with their fellow Irishmen in peace and harmony? Are their views and their concerns always subservient to unionism?
We're at a very interesting point because everybody now has acknowledged, even people in the DUP like Gregory Campbell and Arlene Foster have acknowledged that there's probably going to be a border poll. So it's only a question of when now. If it's held, that means that the British Secretary of State who called it believes that it's going to be won by those who believe in the United Ireland.
Yeah.
That's a hugely grave step, really, isn't it? Because it's saying the British are saying we think it's going to be a win for the United Islanders.
Yeah. Here's the other thing as well, too. We don't probably have time to discuss, but look what's happening in Scotland. They're looking for a super majority now. Both Alex Salmond started this new party, Alba. He claims it's going to be complementary to the SNP. Now, that's a matter of opinion. Mm-hmm. But if he picks up the loose votes that the SNP doesn't, and there's a massive majority now for independence, and Westminster refuses to give the Scottish people the right for a vote, you can imagine. Do they do a Catalonia? Do they go out in the streets or some sort of civil disobedience or whatever? And then maybe what Scotland leaves? What's the impact of Scotland leaves on us?
Oh, massive. If Scotland leaves, the United Kingdom is finished, and you can be sure that there'll be a border poll and there'll be a United Ireland. Absolutely.
Right, Dr. Collins, hold on. What message does that send to the Unionists?
Well, it'll send them the message that they better start talking Turkey and stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Slipping right. But I think you've been optimistic that this May election is going to go all the way of the Scottish National Party. I have a funny feeling.
With respect, I didn't say that, but it's a fairly good hypothesis to make.
I'd like to think it would, But I'm
Yeah.
fearful. I'm really fearful that Alex Salmond has, put a hole in, or at least wounded to some degree, what looked like a shoo-in for the SNP. Every poll was showing that they were going to win. It was showing that the people are in favour of independence. And now that's cutting back since Alex Salmond has raised his...
Yeah, well, but you see, when it comes to, when the people get in the booth, who knows? Like a lot of opinion polls, things can sway. And a bad headline today for Nicola Sturgeon can maybe, if somebody's doing a vox pop or a poll, that it's down. By the time the election comes around, it could all be changed again.
Well, true enough. I think people who have admired Nicola Sturgeon's handling of the pandemic are unlikely to change their views simply because Alex Salmond...
He's a very capable and able politician. Her and Angela Merkel, Jude, I would rate as two of the best politicians in Europe. And it's been proven that she's been very, very successful.
You have a tendency to kowtow to women at the best of times.
Absolutely. Have you met my wife?
How wise you are. Okay, last subject. And it's only 5 minutes once again. Is Luxembourg, if you'll pardon the expression. Bloody Luxembourg. I thought it was a radio station, but you tell me it's...
Yeah, that a lot of people think. Jude, as I was sitting watching last night, and I could cry into me glass of red wine when I was about Jack Charlton. It was, those glory days. And, Jude, I even remember, I was working in the day journals out of the day journal. I remember the day we were playing against Romania when David O'Leary scored.
Oh, I remember it myself.
The proprietor was a man called Micheál. And Frank was a great man. He really genuinely was. I remember he come in and he just said, "Hey, Pat, come on, give everybody, let them all take a day off, or not the day off, the afternoon off to watch the match." And we all sat in the sort of reporter's office where there was two big TVs, or big TVs, sorry, not two, big TV up, and we all the staff just sat there. And see, when O'Leary scored that penalty to win the match, Jude, you could hear the noise, and see around. People were driving around Derry in cars, and it was like unbelievable. Right, Jude.
My wife had to go to the kitchen. My wife had to go to the kitchen. She couldn't bear to look.
Exactly. Right, Jude. And we lost to Luxembourg on Saturday night. Put that in perspective.
Well, what's the answer? Is it that we're playing? The South of Ireland's team is playing old style football, or is it playing ineffectively new style football, or are they just bloody useless?
I think I'll go for option 3. Jude, now some of the criticism Stephen Kenny's getting, I know he doesn't have the Liam Brady's and the Paul McGraths and the Andy Townsends. Like, Jesus, Jude, some of the people.
He scored one goal. He scored 1 goal in 10 games.
And by the way, there are a couple of goalkeepers on quite recently. I have never heard of any of them. And in fact, a lot of the players have never heard of them. So, and you'd see on Saturday night, the wife actually said to me, was watching the game, I said, that couldn't be hers. They really genuinely could. That's how bad things have got. So the days of excitement. But Jude, I think what's happened, and it's a sort of a universal thing, the Premier League, or the old First Division football, used to be the outlet for the really good Irish players and the really good Scots players and the really good Welsh, and they all went over there and all. If you look around now, and you'd see Arsene Wenger's Arsenal team did not have a single person from these islands. I think it was the first time a Premier League team. There were 3 or 4 French. There was I can't even remember who the rest were. So the days of our going up here and going up a step and going up a step and turning out to be seasoned. The Roy Keanes and Liam Brady's and.
So is that a mortal flaw then, that we're never going to get back, or is it that the tactics aren't right, or the commitment isn't right, or? Well,
I haven't said that. Michael O'Neill did a great job with a very poor Northern Ireland team.
Yes,
he had
that's
them
right.
Playing,
right.
So a lot of it's down to the tactics, and a lot is down to the manager.
Well, you see, this. Unfortunately, my heart bleeds for your man, but at the same time,
Stephen
he has lost 10 games and he has scored 1 goal, and he celebrated the goal. Fair enough, I have celebrated it too. But that first game, that game against Serbia. But for God's sake, it was like he'd won the World Cup and he scored 1 goal.
At one stage, watching the Republic was a much watch to the Republic of Ireland. Now it's a must. I wouldn't cross the street to watch them play at the minute.
And I tell you something, Eamon Dunphy was a lucky man. He survived with his life when he came out against it and said that they were playing ugly football. Is Kenny trying to be in the new game? Is he? Is he trying to?
I think Kenny is trying to he's trying to play Rolls Royce footballer. Football was sort of a Morris Minor team.
So is there no answer to it then, Pat? No answer really.
Jude, we don't have the talent. We genuinely don't. Joking aside, we name a star player. The star player probably on the Irish team at the minute is Seamus Coleman. He's still a very, very good player. Fellow Donegal man, I should point out.
Of course,
but but having said that, he got a very bad leg break about 2 or 3 years, and he's never been the same player. Now, but he's
a very mature player too. He is,
and he's done a great job. But hey, when your star player's a right back who's come back from a very serious injury, it's not exactly, you don't have Ronaldo or Lionel Messi or anybody else. You're dependent. It's
we'll just have to start
that's reality.
We'll have to play Gaelic. Everybody will have to play Gaelic from now on. Gaelic football.
Absolutely.
What was your man, Jim? What was his name for Donegal that led the Donegal team to glory?
Jim McGuinness.
Jim McGuinness.
Yes.
My God, that was amazing. But the thing that gets me is, how is it that teams, well, let's take it any team, but a team in Gaelic particularly can be wonderful and win the All-Ireland, and then that's it. They can't get back again. They cannot get back again to win.
That's what I don't know. But look at Dublin, Japers. They've won Madison 17 or whatever, or 6 in a row. That's
what we were talking about earlier. There's vast numbers to draw from.
And Jude, I think somewhere like Laois received someone about 200,000 from the GA last year. Dublin received something like 21 million. So work it out.
Do you notice, and I will leave it at this. It's like somebody was pointing out on TV. I think what was his name? Bill Maher on CNN. I think it was. He was pointing out that places like North Dakota get 2 senators for the American Senate, and so does California. And California is billions of number, well, an awful lot more people, but they still get the same number,
That's the old college vote system, isn't it?
So it's the same thing with football. Dublin really does need to divide it in 4, I think.
Definitely.
Only answer.
Excuse me, Dr. Collins, before I go, I'm going to do something here.
What?
I'm going to...
Oh, well, you better keep talking because it's only tiny on my screen, so you'll have to say something, Pat, as you show me. Pat, I have to say something as you show it to me. Keep talking as you should, because we can't see it otherwise. So, camera again, and now you talk. Oh, louder. Can't hear you. No, we're not getting it. Not getting it. What's the point you were trying to make? What's the point you're trying to make?
I'm just going to get out of this. About 3 or 4 people in recent days said, where me and you are talking, I come frequently looking out the window. And I want to point out what I'm looking at. There's a big tree outside my house, and the wind blows it. And all of a sudden, a shadow will come over, and I have to look out. By the way, there's lots of 3 cats that sit on my window. So there's the explanation, Dr. Collins.
So you're a cataphobe. Okay, Pat, thanks very much.
Okay, Jude.
Thank you.
Good luck.